The domed chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with 100 different frequencies of alien speech. Bioluminescent sigils of member species floated above the central dais, casting shifting colors across the gathered delegates. High Chancellor Vexler of the Draxian Dominion raised a clawed hand, his scaled crest flaring to command silence. The murmurs died instantly. Admiral Lisa Hayes stood alone at the petitioner's circle, her black and gold Earth Force uniform stark against the riot of alien colors. The air smelled faintly of ozone and something musky. Alien pheromones, probably. She kept her breathing steady. 3 months of negotiations had led to this moment. Let the record show, Vexelor's voice boomed through the chamber's acoustics, that humanity's continued defiance leaves this council no choice. His vertical pupils narrowed as they focused on Lisa. Your colonies refuse Federation resource quotas. Your governments ignore our directives. This insolence cannot stand. A Ceralian delegate floated forward on its anti-grav disk, its cluster of eye stalks twitching. The human home system sits on key hyperspace lanes. Their uncontrolled expansion threatens galactic stability. Lisa clenched her jaw, uncontrolled, as if Mars and Titan hadn't been terraformed through a century of human sweat and blood. The vote took less than 30 seconds. Holographic sigils flared red around the chamber. Unanimous Vexelor's crest flattened in satisfaction. By the authority of the Galactic Federation, humanity is hereby declared a threat to interstellar peace. All member species are authorized to take necessary military action. A wave of alien chatter filled the chamber. Lisa saw a Zephyrian admiral already tapping commands into a wrist projector, likely ordering its fleet to mobilize. The Vorak hive, mind delegates swayed in unison, their chitinous faces unreadable. Lisa pressed her palm to the comm bead in her ear. Defiance actual to Earthcom. They just declared war. A pause. Then General Okafor's voice, tight with anger. Understood. Initiate Prometheus protocol. Lisa lowered her hand and met Vexelor's gaze. The Draxian's tongue flicked out, tasting the air. You have nothing to say, human? Around her, delegates from a dozen species leaned forward. The air smelled suddenly sharper, alien anticipation. Lisa straightened her jacket. Let the record also show that the Galactic Federation initiated hostilities without provocation. Laughter rippled through the chamber. A hulking Graythian in the front row snorted through its nasal slits. Provocation. Your pitiful fleet can't even patrol your own border worlds without our aid. Vexelor waved a dismissive claw. This conflict will be over in a standard cycle. Your species is weak, disorganized, primitive. Lisa smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. You've never fought humans before. More laughter, the Ceralian's eye, stalks quivered with amusement. We've seen your military exercises, chemical propulsion weapons, unguided projectiles. Your fastest ships still use fusion torches. A hologram flickered to life above the daises, a grainy recording of human marines training with what looked like antique railguns. The Zephyrian admiral made a chittering sound. They still use kinetic weapons, like savages throwing rocks. Lisa waited for the laughter to die down. When she spoke again, her voice carried, "Those rocks can crack a battlecruiser's shield in 3 hits, and that footage is 15 years old." Vexelor's crest twitched. Enough, the decision is made. Admiral Hayes, your government has 1 standard day to surrender unconditionally. Lisa turned toward the exit. The crowd of aliens parted before her, some with mocking bows, others with barely concealed sneers. At the arched doorway, she paused and looked back. "Funny thing about humans," she said, "just loud enough to carry. We've been killing each other for millennia, got pretty good at it." She tapped her comm bead again. Defiance to all Earth Force vessels. Execute Prometheus. Repeat. Execute Prometheus. The chamber's massive holographic display flickered. For a brief second, every alien comm device in the room buzzed with the same encrypted burst transmission. Vexelor's claws scraped against the podium. What was that? Lisa didn't answer. She walked out as the first alarm klaxons began to wail across Cententrum's orbital defenses. Behind her, the Council erupted into chaos. Aboard the USN Defiance, hanging in high orbit, Tactical Officer Chen grinned at his display. "Admiral, all stealth drones confirm their entire defense grid just lit up like a Christmas tree. We have full targeting locks." Lisa stepped onto the bridge, her boots clicking against the deck plating. "Good helm. Take us to the rally point, maximum burn." As the Defiance's engines flared to life, the last thing Lisa saw on the view screen was the Galactic Council's spire shrinking behind them, and the first human-made torpedoes streaking toward Centen's orbital shield generators. The USN Atlantica drifted silently near the asteroid belt, her armored hull reflecting the distant light of Sol. Captain Jake Morrison leaned back in his command chair, fingers drumming against the armrest. The bridge crew worked quietly, their screens casting blue light across tired faces. 3 days since the declaration, 3 days waiting for the hammer to fall. "Contacts," Lieutenant Chen announced suddenly. Her voice stayed calm, but her knuckles whitened around the edge of her console. Multiple warp signatures emerging at bearing 02. 7 configuration matches, Zephyrian assault pattern Delta. Jake sat forward. "Show me." The main viewer flickered to life, displaying hundreds of sleek, dagger-shaped warships materializing from warp. Their hulls shimmered with the telltale purple sheen of active cloaking fields, disengaging. Perfect formation textbook deployment. The lead ship's markings identified it as the Claw of Supremacy, flagship of the Zephyrian Third Fleet. "Admiral Crix's personal ride," Commander Okafor muttered. "They're not holding back." Jake allowed himself a tight smile. "They never do." He tapped the ship, wide comm. "All hands battle stations. This is not a drill, I repeat. Battle stations." Alarms wailed through the Atlantica as the crew scrambled to positions. Bulkheads sealed. Weapon systems powered up. The massive railgun turrets along the dreadnought's spine hummed to life, their magnetic coils charging. On screen, the Zephyrian fleet advanced. A hailing frequency opened. Human vessel Admiral Crix's voice crackled through the speakers. His translated words carried the characteristic Zephyrian arrogance. "You are outnumbered 200 to 1. Surrender immediately or be destroyed." Jake glanced at his tactical display. The numbers weren't wrong. The Atlantica stood alone against an entire battle group. By all galactic military doctrine, this should have been a slaughter. He keyed the response. "Admiral Crix, you've made a mistake." Silence, then laughter, sharp, mocking clicks that translated poorly through the comm system. "Your bravado is amusing. Human. But bravery won't stop plasma torpedoes." Jake nodded to his weapons officer. "Lieutenant Vasquez, you may fire when ready." The Atlantica's railguns spoke first. Superheated tungsten rounds streaked across the void at Faye. The Zephyrian shields flared bright for a millisecond before failing catastrophically. The first 3 rounds punched clean through the Claw of Supremacy's command spire, exiting the other side in sprays of molten debris. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the Zephyrian flagship's engines detonated, splitting the vessel in half. "Direct hits," Vasquez reported, sounding almost surprised. Their shielding offered no meaningful resistance. Jake kept his eyes on the tactical display. They never upgraded their harmonic modulation, still using the same frequency spread from last year's war games. The remaining Zephyrian ships opened fire. Plasma torpedoes streaked toward the Atlantica, their cores burning hotter than small stars. Point defense lasers intercepted most, but several got through. The dreadnought shuddered under the impacts. "Shields at Faye %, Okafor called out. "Minimal hull damage." Jake nodded. "Return fire, full broadside." The Atlantica's railguns fired again. And again, each salvo tore through Zephyrian ships like they were made of wet paper. The aliens' return fire grew increasingly erratic as their formation broke apart. Admiral Crix's image reappeared on screen, his crest flattened in shock. "Impossible. Our shields are..." Outdated, Jake interrupted. Or just inadequate against human weapons. He leaned forward. You banned us from your war games, Admiral, but we never stopped studying your tactics. The Zephyrian's eyes widened. What have you? Activate blackout protocol, Jake ordered. Across the Atlantica, engineers threw switches. Deep in the ship's belly, a single transmission burst erupted. A short, encrypted signal. Nothing happened for 3 heartbeats. Then the asteroid belt came alive. Thousands of dormant mines, hidden among the rocks during months of mining operations, activated simultaneously. Each one housed a stolen Zephyrian shield disruptor jury, rigged to a human plasma warhead. The devices fled to life, creating an overlapping network of interference fields that completely neutralized the remaining Zephyrian shields. The Atlantica's railguns fired again. Without their shields, the Zephyrian ships might as well have been target drones. Explosion after explosion lit up the blackness as the human dreadnought methodically dismantled the fleet. Admiral Crix's transmission cut in again, his voice now tinged with panic. Cease fire. We surrender. By the accord of, Sorry, Admiral, Jake said calmly. Humanity never signed that particular treaty. He nodded to Vasquez. Finish it. The final railgun salvo turned the claw of supremacy's remains into expanding vapor. Within minutes, the Zephyrian Third Fleet ceased to exist. The bridge crew erupted in cheers. Okafor clapped Jake on the shoulder. They never saw it coming. Jake studied the wreckage on the view screen. They never do. He tapped the comm again. All hands, excellent work. But this was just the opening move. Vasquez, prep the stealth probes. I want every scrap of data from that wreckage analyzed before the Vorak arrive. As the crew returned to their stations, Jake allowed himself one small, satisfied smile. The galaxy had declared war on humanity. Now they would learn what that truly meant. The wreckage of the Zephyrian fleet still glowed in the darkness, molten metal cooling into grotesque sculptures of defeat. Aboard the USN Defiance, Admiral Lisa Hayes watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Her fingers hovered over the console as new contacts blinked into existence. Vorak reinforcements, their sleek triangular warships, emerging from warp in perfect formation. Right on schedule, Lisa murmured. Commander Ruiz leaned over the display, his dark eyes reflecting the holographic projections. They brought the entire 7th battle group, that is 300 capital ships. Lisa didn't take her eyes off the screen, and they think that is enough. Across the bridge, Ensign Park adjusted his headset. Admiral, the drones are primed and awaiting your signal. Lisa exhaled slowly. The Vorak had always been the Federation's sharpest tacticians, methodical, ruthless, and utterly convinced of their superiority. They'd laughed when humanity first proposed joint war games. Now they'd learn why that had been a mistake. Execute. Space erupted. Not with the thunder of human railguns or the searing beams of alien plasma cannons, but with silence. Thousands of small, unmarked pods detached from asteroids, from derelict Zephyrian hulls, even from the Defiance's own shadow. They were crude things, barely more than engines strapped to stolen Federation shield generators and jury-rigged warheads. The Vorak Admiral's hologram flickered to life on the Defiance's bridge, his chitinous faceplates twitching in confusion. Human vessel you are. His voice cut off as the first drone impacted. It wasn't the explosion that mattered. It was the cascade. Each drone carried a modified Federation shield modulator, reverse-engineered from wreckage after the Battle of Proxima. As they detonated, their energy signatures pulsed in perfect harmonic resonance with Vorak defensive systems. The effect was instantaneous. Vorak shields flared brilliant violet, then overloaded. Ships that had weathered supernovae found their defenses collapsing under the weight of their own technology. All batteries fire at will, Lisa ordered. The Defiance's railguns roared. Without their shields, the Vorak cruisers might as well have been made of glass. One after another, they shattered under the barrage. On the tactical display, the 7th battle group dissolved into chaos. Ships collided as their formation broke. Some tried to warp out, only to find human stealth mines waiting at the jump points. Commander Ruiz let out a low whistle. They really didn't see this coming. Lisa allowed herself a small smile. They never do. A transmission crackled through. Captain Jake Morrison from the Atlantica, his voice rough with static. Defiance. We're reading multiple Vorak carriers breaking off. They're launching fighters. Lisa didn't hesitate. Activate Blackout Protocol Phase 2. Deep in the Defiance's engineering bay, Chief O'Hara slammed her fist onto a rusted console. You heard the Admiral. Light 'em up. Across the battlefield, every piece of human debris, every shattered hull fragment, every drifting life pod, suddenly emitted a blinding electromagnetic pulse. Vorak sensors shorted out. Fighters spun helplessly, their targeting systems fried. The Defiance's guns never stopped. On the Vorak flagship, Admiral Krixar watched in horror as his screens filled with static. His second in command, a young warrior barely past her first molt, turned to him with mandibles quivering. They knew our shield frequencies. How? Krixar's claws dug into the command throne. They watched, they learned. He stared at the view screen as another cruiser exploded. And they waited. Back on the Defiance, Ensign Park whooped as the last Vorak carrier broke apart. That is all of them. 7th Battle Group is dust. Lisa didn't celebrate. She tapped her comm. All ships, status report. One by one, the responses came in. The Vengeance, the Olympia, the Titan's Fist, scratched, battered, but alive. Ruiz shook his head. I still can't believe it worked. Lisa turned to face her crew. They banned us from war games because they thought we'd steal their secrets. She gestured to the carnage outside. Turns out they were right. A new alert blared, long-range sensors picking up another wave of contacts. Not Vorak, not Superion, the entire Draxian home fleet. Lisa's smile faded. All right, people, round 2. The bridge crew snapped to their stations. Somewhere in the darkness, humanity's next surprise waited. And this time, the galaxy would really learn what human wrath looked like. The holographic war table flickered as another Vorak dreadnought dissolved into static. Admiral Lisa Hayes watched the feed from the bridge of the Defiance, her fingers tracing the fresh scar along her jaw. The wound still ached, a parting gift from the Superion boarding party last week. Play it again, she ordered. The tactical officer tapped his console. The recording rewound showing the moment the human drone swarm had overloaded the Vorak flagship's shields, not with brute force, with precision. 1,000 tiny cuts to the same weak point in their harmonic frequency. Lisa's comm crackled. Admiral, you need to see this. Captain Blake's voice carried an edge she hadn't heard since the war began. The main screen switched to a live feed from the Vengeance. It showed the Galactic Council chamber in chaos. Bioluminescent delegates clashed in the aisles, their appendages flailing. High Chancellor Vexlor's crest stood fully erect, Draxian body language for sheer panic. Are we hacked into their secure channels? Lisa asked. Blake's grin was audible. Wasn't even hard. Their encryption's based on quantum harmonics. We cracked it with a toaster. A Ceralian delegate suddenly projected a battle recording above the council floor. The hologram showed a human salvage team cobbling together debris from a Superion cruiser. Welders sparked as they fused alien warp coils to a stolen Vorak missile casing. They improvised a warp core bomb out of scrap. The Ceralian shrieked, its floating eyes pulsing violet with terror. The chamber erupted. A Draxian admiral slammed his claws into the podium. Impossible. Their ships are outdated, their weapons primitive. Lisa leaned forward. Freeze that feed. The screen locked on the Draxian's snarling face. She tapped her comm. Morrison, you seeing this? Jake's voice came through, backgrounded by the Atlantica's alarm klaxons. Oh, I'm seeing it. Also seeing 12 Superion cruisers trying to flank us. Hold on. A distant explosion rattled his mic. Okay, that is 5 left. What is the play? Lisa watched the frozen hologram. The Draxian's teeth were bared in textbook superiority. She'd seen that expression before, on every alien who'd ever looked at a human and seen weakness. "Send them a message," she said softly, then louder. "All ships, patch me through to the Council's main frequency." The comm officer hesitated. "Admiral, they'll trace." "I want them to trace it." Lisa straightened her uniform. "On my mark." The bridge fell silent. The crew knew that tone. It was the same one Lisa had used before the blackout protocol turned the asteroid belt into a Zephyrian graveyard. Live in 3-2. The main screen flickered. Suddenly, the Defiance's bridge was being projected into the council chamber. Lisa stood framed by her crew, the battle scars on her ship's bulkhead clearly visible behind her. Vexlor's crest flattened instantly. Admiral Hayes. His voice dripped with forced calm. "This is a most unexpected intrusion." Lisa didn't smile. "You declared war on humanity. Did you really think we wouldn't learn?" The Cerellian delegate quivered. "Your species was banned from military exercises. You had no access to our tactics." Behind Lisa, a young ensign snorted. Blake's face appeared on a secondary screen, his vengeance streaking past a burning Vorak carrier. "Banned from war games, never stopped us from studying yours." The Draxian admiral stepped forward. "Your tricks won't save you. The Federation has thousands of ships." Lisa tilted her head. Outdated. The bridge crew grinned as one, or underestimated. The words hung in the air. Then the Defiance's weapons officer quietly tapped his console. The feed cut, but not before transmitting one final image. The Atlantica's railguns firing in perfect sync, punching through 3 Zephyrian cruisers with a single shot. Silence on the bridge. Then the comm officer exhaled sharply. "We're being hailed, Vorak High Command. They're requesting terms." Lisa didn't react. She was watching the tactical display. 12 more blips had just appeared near Jupiter, human signatures. "Tell them to wait," she said softly. "The real fleet's just arrived." The crew turned as one to the main screen. The new contacts resolved into view. Not warships, mining barges, colony transports, even a retrofitted luxury yacht. All jury, rigged with stolen alien tech, all bristling with weapons. At their lead, the USN Titan, a repurposed asteroid hauler twice the size of the Defiance, flashed its running lights in battle code. Lisa finally smiled. "Now they'll see what happens when you wake a sleeping giant." The bridge erupted into cheers. Somewhere in the galaxy, 100 alien commanders were realizing their fatal mistake. Humanity didn't just fight back, it learned. The Vorak homeworld loomed like a jewel in the void, its defense grid shimmering with impossible energy. Captain Ryan Blake of the USN Vengeance studied the tactical display, his fingers tracing the shield harmonics. The numbers didn't lie. No conventional weapon could pierce that barrier. Not even the stolen Zephyrian plasma lances they'd jury rigged onto their hulls. "Status report," Blake barked. Lieutenant Chen's voice crackled over the comm. "Shield harmonics at phase stability, sir. Their entire fleet's dug in behind it. Even if we had 1,000 ships, we don't." Blake's eyes flicked to the blinking red dot on his console, the Defiance holding position half a light second away. Lisa Hayes' face filled the hollow screen, her expression grim. "You seeing this, Ryan?" Blake nodded. Like a turtle shell made of neutronium. A Vorak transmission cut through the static, their hive-mind voice buzzing with contempt. "Surrender, humans. Your primitive vessels cannot breach." Blake muted it. "Chen, run the numbers on Blackjack Protocol again." Chen paled. "Sir, that's a theoretical model. We've never. Today's a day for firsts." Blake turned to his weapons officer. "Kovacs, prep the singularity grenade." The bridge went silent. Kovacs swallowed hard. "Captain, that thing's untested. If the harmonic calibration's off by 0.5%, then we'll die fast." Blake leaned forward. "But if it works, their entire grid collapses in one shot." Lisa's hologram crossed her arms. "Ryan, even if you pull this off, the recoil will..." Tear the Vengeance apart, I know. Blake grinned. Good thing we loaded the grenade onto a drone, huh? The bridge crew exchanged glances. Then, one by one, they nodded. Kovac's fingers flew across his console. Singularity grenade armed. Gravimetric stabilizers holding for now. Blake opened a fleet. Wide channel. All ships fall back to minimum safe distance. This is gonna get messy. The human vessels peeled away. All but the Defiance. Lisa's hologram glared. Like hell I'm leaving you alone with the fireworks. Blake chuckled. Stubborn as ever, Hayes. The drone shot forward, a speck against the Vorak defenses. Their fleet reacted instantly. 100 plasma beams lanced out. The drone weaved, its improvised shields flaring. Impact in 10 seconds, Chen whispered. The Vorak hive mind's voice returned, now edged with panic. Cease this madness. Your device cannot. 5 seconds. The drone's hull began to crumple under the barrage. 3. A plasma bolt tore through its starboard thruster. 1. The singularity grenade detonated. Space itself rippled. The Vorak shield grid flared blinding white, then fractured like glass. The harmonic feedback raced through their fleet, overloading reactors, frying control systems. Ships that had stood unbroken for centuries drifted powerless. On the Vengeance's bridge, alarms screamed as the gravitational backlash hit. The deck plates buckled. A console exploded. Evasive maneuvers, Blake roared. Too late, the Vengeance's port side crumpled like paper. Atmosphere vented in a frozen scream. Then, silence. Blake coughed blood, pulling himself from the wreckage of his command chair. The main display flickered, showing the Vorak homeworld utterly exposed. Lisa's voice cut through the static. Ryan's status? Blake grinned. Shields are down. Time to introduce them to human diplomacy. Across the system, human ships surged forward. The Defiance led the charge, her railguns already cycling. Blake opened a galaxy-wide channel. His voice, raw but unbroken, echoed across every comm system from the Draxian Thronia world to the farthest Cerulean outpost. You declared war on all of us. Now meet the real human military. The Vorak homeworld's orbital defenses fired, a desperate, uncoordinated barrage. The Defiance's point defense guns swatted them aside like insects. Lisa's voice was ice. All ships, weapons free. 1,000 human railguns spoke as one. The Vorak never stood a chance. The Draxian homeworld burned. Not with fire. Their atmosphere couldn't sustain combustion, but with the eerie blue glow of overloaded power grids. Human drop pods rained from the sky, each one slamming into the capital city with mechanical precision. The USN Defiance hung in low orbit, her railgun batteries silent but primed. Admiral Lisa Hayes watched the feed from the bridge, her fingers steepled. High Chancellor Vexler's hologram flickered to life before her, his crest flattened in submission. The once proud Draxian scales had dulled to a sickly grey. Enough, he hissed. We surrender. Name your terms. Lisa didn't smile. You don't get to surrender. You get to lose. Around her, the bridge crew worked silently. Lieutenant Chen tapped at his console. Vorak Hive. Ships are retreating from Proxima Centauri. Zephyrian warlords are tearing up their treaties. Good, Lisa said. She leaned forward. Vexler, you declared war on a species you thought was weak. Now you'll learn what weak really looks like. The hologram wavered. What do you want? Everything. A murmur ran through the bridge. Captain Ryan Blake's voice crackled over the comm from the Vengeance. Admiral, we've got a lock on their orbital defense platforms. One word and they're scrap. Lisa held up a hand. Stand by. She turned back to Vexler. First, total disarmament. Every warship, every plasma cannon, every knife in the Federation gets melted down. Vexler's claws twitched. Impossible, the Raider clans would. Second, Lisa continued. Reparations. 100 years worth of resources, food, medicine. Our colonies starved because of your blockades. The Draxian's nostrils flared. And if we refuse? Lisa nodded to Chen. The view screen switched to a live feed, the Defiance's main railgun charging, its barrel glowing red. Hot, then we finish what you started. Vexler's hologram flickered again. Behind him, alarms wailed. The feed showed Draxian civilians scrambling as human shock troops breached the last of their defensive lines. There's more, Lisa said. Third. And this one's non-negotiable. Humanity decides its own borders now. No more Federation dictates. No more petty councils. Vexler's voice was barely a whisper. You would make slaves of us all. Lisa laughed. Funny, that's exactly what you tried to do to us. She stood. Here's the difference, Chancellor. We don't want slaves. We just want you gone. The comm crackled again. Blake's voice was grim. Admiral, Superior remnants are rallying near the Kronos belt orders. Lisa didn't hesitate. Burn them. Vexler's hologram jerked. No, the Kronos belt is sacred ground. Even we wouldn't. That's why you lost, Lisa said. She turned her back. Transmit the terms to every Federation world. They have 6 hours to comply. The hologram vanished. Silence settled over the bridge. Lieutenant Chen exhaled slowly. Admiral, what if they call our bluff? Lisa stared at the view screen. The Draxian homeworld spun below, its cities lit by the glow of human victories. Who said I was bluffing? A new alert blared. Ensign Rivera spun in her chair. Incoming transmission from Earth Command. The screen resolved into the grizzled face of General O'Connor. His uniform was rumpled, his eyes sharp. Hayes, the Council's in shambles. Half their species are begging for mercy. The other half are ready to glass their own planets rather than surrender to monkeys. Lisa smirked. Let them try. O'Connor leaned closer. Don't get cocky. We're not done yet. Oh, I know, Lisa said. She tapped a command into her console. The Defiance's railguns hummed to full power. Outside, the first human-built Dyson sphere flickered to life on the edge of the system, a beacon of power the galaxy had never seen. Vexler's final transmission played on loop across every Federation channel. You've doomed us all. Lisa turned it off. No, she murmured, just you. The Defiance's engines flared. The war wasn't over, but the galaxy would never be the same. The star maps glowed red across the galaxy. Not the soft crimson of warning lights, but the bold, unapologetic scarlet of human territory. Every screen in the Federation showed the same impossible sight. Borders redrawn by the hands of a species they'd called weak. Aboard the USN Defiance, Admiral Lisa Hayes watched the final surrender document scroll across her screen. The Draxian sigil flickered at the bottom, pressed there by Vexler's own claw. She could still hear the High Chancellor's voice cracking as he signed. You don't understand what you've done, the balance. Lisa had cut him off. There is no balance now, just humanity. The bridge crew worked in quiet efficiency. No cheers, no grand speeches. They'd earned their victory in blood and broken ships. Lieutenant Chen adjusted the holodisplay, zooming in on the Sol system. A new structure glittered there. A vast lattice of solar collectors, swallowing the sun's light. Phase 1 of the Dyson swarm is operational, Chen reported. His voice was calm, but his hands trembled slightly. We're drawing more energy in one cycle than the Draxians harvest in a decade. Captain Jake Morrison leaned against the tactical console, his uniform sleeve torn at the shoulder from a near miss with a Vorak plasma cutter. He grinned at the readouts. Bet they regret calling our tech primitives now. A chime sounded, the main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the USN Vengeance. Captain Ryan Blake's face was smudged with soot, his left eye bandaged from the black hole gambit at Vorak Prime. Behind him, engineers welded a ruptured bulkhead. Blake, Lisa nodded. How is the Vengeance holding up? Like a drunk after last call, Blake chuckled. But she'll fly, just got word from the outer colonies. Last Federation garrison surrendered. They're handing over their shield tech like we asked. Morrison whistled. After what we did to their precious grids, I'd hand over my mother's recipes too. The crew laughed, the tension easing for the first time in months. Lisa studied the star map again. Red, so much red. Earth glowed at the center, surrounded by the first completed ring of the Dyson swarm. The other rings would come in time. A new alert pinged. Chen frowned. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Cerulean homeworld marked urgent. Lisa sighed. Put them through. The screen split, revealing delegate Thorax, his floating orbs dimmed with exhaustion, bioluminescence flickering. Where once he'd mocked humans, now his voice wavered. Admiral Hayes, the Council requests. No begs for an audience. There must be terms we can. Terms. Lisa interrupted. You declared total war. You glassed 3 of our colonies. There are no terms, only consequences. Thorax's orbs contracted. You don't understand. Without our trade lanes, a dozen species will starve. The Vorak hive minds are fracturing without their central. Not our problem. Blake cut in from the vengeance. Should've thought of that before you voted to exterminate us. Lisa held up a hand. We're not monsters. Humanitarian aid will pass through our checkpoints under our supervision. She leaned forward. But the age of the Federation dictating to humanity is over. From now on, you answer to us. The transmission cut abruptly. The bridge fell silent. Morrison exhaled. Think they'll try again. Lisa watched the Dyson swarm's energy readings climb. Let them deep in the ship. A klaxon sounded, not an alarm, but a shift change. The crew moved with purpose. The wounded helped to medbay, the exhausted replaced by fresh teams. The Defiance bore her scars proudly, blackened armor plating, patched hull breaches, a dozen systems still running on jury-rigged repairs. In the mess hall, crewmen clustered around a grainy feed from Earth. The first Dyson energy pulses were reaching the surface, powering cities that had known blackouts for generations. A child in New Shanghai laughed as streetlights blazed to life, brighter than ever before. Jake raised a coffee mug. Real coffee. Beans shipped up from Brazil as a victory luxury. To humanity. The crew echoed him. To humanity. Lisa didn't join the toast. She stepped into the observation deck, staring at the stars. Not just points of light now, names on a map. Ours, the comm crackled. Admiral, you seeing this? She turned. The main screen showed a deep space scan. Hundreds of dots. No, thousands ships. But not Federation, not human. Identification. Lisa snapped. Chen's voice shook. Unknown configuration. Not in any data. And Admiral, they're heading toward Federation space. Fast. A slow smile spread across Lisa's face. Open a channel to the vengeance. Blake appeared instantly. You seeing this? Oh, I'm seeing it, Lisa said. Recall patrols full alert. Morrison joined her, his grin fading as he saw the numbers. That is a whole new fleet. Lisa activated the fleet-wide comm. All human vessels, this is Admiral Hayes, battle stations. The galaxy just got bigger. The Defiance's engines hummed to full power. Across human space, guns powered up, shields activated, and the first Dyson swarm pulsed with energy, ready to feed the war machines once more. Somewhere out there, a new threat approached. Humanity would be waiting.